gentlemen, and welcome to our guests in the UK, Europe, Israel, the States, and around the world to our weekly CJL Fireside Chat. And tonight we have it's our privilege and honor to have with us a very special man. Many of you have heard about, will certainly be getting to know through the evening. Wonderful man, dedicated. His name is Eli Beer. Eli Beer, for those of you who don't know, is founder and chairman of the United Hatzalah, a network of more than 6,000, I believe, volunteer medics who help literally to save thousands, many thousands of lives each year across Israel by providing medical treatment and an average response time, I believe, of 3 minutes or less. It's certainly getting less all the time. Obviously, during these pandemic times, these extraordinary times, the service of these incredible individuals on the front lines has literally saved many hundreds, thousands of lives. And again, it is our pleasure and privilege to have with us tonight Eli Beer. Just one more thing, as some of you may know, Eli has recently recovered from COVID-19. He was in America, I believe in Florida, in Miami at the time, obviously doing the good work that he normally does and spends most of his life doing. Unfortunately, he was infected with the virus quite critically, and obviously we'll get to that a little later on in the evening. So again, Eli, thank you very much for joining us here tonight.
Thank you very much, too. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So starting from the beginning, or when I say the beginning, I'm talking about who you are, your passion, what inspires you. What did inspire you to start this incredible emergency first response medical service that has become so successful, and if I may say, an inspiration to so many other organizations and volunteer networks?
I think I was inspired by my father, who was an incredible person, amazing human being, who always cared of helping people. And he inspired me as a child when he was involved with so many things. I remember my father was involved with the Soviet Jews who were trying to get out of Russia from the Soviet Union. And my father was very involved when he was a child. He used to tell me stories about he lived in the Lower East Side of New York, and he was raising money to help the Jews run away from the Nazis in New York. As a child, he went ahead and he collected money, and they had an organization called the Bad Hatzalah in America, helping the European Jews who were suffering so much, trying to save their lives. So I grew up when I was a little older. I was 6 years old actually when I saw a bus blow up in my neighborhood in Jerusalem. 6 people were murdered in this terrible tragedy. Many people were hurt. And then these memories of the bus blowing up and the fact that I grew up in an amazing house. Chesed was the most important thing. Doing good for others was so important. So when I grew up, I decided I want to go volunteer and save people's lives in an ambulance. So that's what I did when I was very young. I went ahead and I volunteered in an ambulance in Jerusalem. Did a course, of course, in how to save lives, the basic course, and then they let you go on in the back of my ambulance. And I realized, although you help so many people, but you don't really get to save them. Because by the time you get to someone who's ill and not breathing, or someone who's choking, or God forbid someone's run over by a car and he's bleeding to death, or she's bleeding to death, you get there, it's too late. And it always bothered me that people around you could be saving your life, but they didn't even know about it. And we were always the first ones helping, even if we came 20 minutes later and there was nothing to do about it. So that's when I decided I'm going to go ahead and start a group of volunteers to respond to emergencies before ambulances. And what triggered this whole idea was an emergency of a 7-year-old boy who was choking, and it took us 21 minutes to come help him. When we started working on this boy and the mother was hysterical crying, a doctor runs into the house, and he says, "I'm a neighbor. I saw the ambulance parked here. I want to help." And after a few minutes, there was nothing to do. This kid is not alive anymore. In that moment, I realized how many people die waiting for ambulances to show up everywhere. Not only in Israel, but I saw the problem in Jerusalem. I said, I want to solve that problem. I want to go ahead and create a flash mob of volunteers who will be responding from their home, from synagogues, or from school, or from work, whatever they're doing. They stop everything they do and run to save a person. And then when the person's saved, they can go back home and get their normal, get their normal life back. But at least they'll go fill in the gap between an emergency happening until the ambulance arrives.
Well, that's absolutely incredible. If I can just ask, zooming in a little on that, there are many people who see problems, they see weaknesses in the system, etc. Why do you think you just threw yourself into it in such a total way, with such passion and enthusiasm, and you continue to dedicate your life to this? What do you think it is in you that made you actually not just think about the problem, but actually throw yourself and your life into solving this problem?
Well, look, I think I was lucky to be the one. Many people think of ideas and they love it and they fight for it. I have something that I was born into because I'm Israeli. You in England are not so familiar with this thing. It's called in Israel. It's a basic thing that if you don't have, you can't succeed in this country. It's called chutzpah. And I was born with this. When I heard the ambulances said no, they said, this is not a good idea. If someone calls for help, he must get an ambulance with official uniform, with the whole, like we say, guns to Megillah, the whole uniform and the official ambulance coming. They said the person has to wait. No matter if he calls for help, he must get an ambulance. And that's when I realized that if they don't like the idea, it must be a good idea. And I said, I'm not going to let this happen. I'm not going to let this dream of saving lives disappear. And they didn't want to share the emergency calls with us. So I went ahead and I used my Israeli chutzpah, and I bought police scanners, these walkie-talkies that you could listen into the police. And we were tapping into their emergency calls to hear them dispatching ambulances towards emergencies. So that's how we knew anything happening nearby us. The first person I actually helped was a man who was running, who was crossing the street, and a car ran into him. And I heard it on the walkie-talkie, and I ran there by foot, and I got there. The man was on the floor, bleeding terribly. He was bleeding from his neck. He was bleeding from his other parts of the body, but that was a big bleeding here. And I needed to stop his bleeding. I didn't have I didn't have any bandages or anything. So I took my kippah off, my yarmulke, and I used it as a tourniquet, like a bandage, and I put it in to the place where he was. I used it as something to stop the bleeding. And 25 minutes later, an ambulance shows up, and he was still alive, breathing on his own, and he was unconscious. He had a very bad head injury. But 2 days later, I get a phone call from a man. He says, "Are you Eli Beer?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Well, my father was treated by you on Hapizgah Street, and he woke up this morning at Hatzalah Hospital. And he wants to thank you for saving his life." So I started crying. I volunteered for a year and a half in an ambulance, but I never got to save anyone. It's not the same like helping someone. It's great. You take someone who could walk, put him in an ambulance and take him to the hospital. It's a great feeling, but saving someone was my dream. So I got to the hospital, and he thanked me. He was very weak, and his family was around him, and he said, "Come here, I want to give you a hug." This is before the corona. And he gave me and I was crying. I never felt so good in my life. It was the best hug I ever got. And then when he took his hands off, I saw he had a number right here on his hand. And I realized this man is a Holocaust survivor. I never in my life met someone from so close. Someone gave me a hug with a Holocaust survivor. No one in my family came from Europe in the time of the Holocaust. All my family were Americans. I never really had any relatives who were Holocaust survivors, so I got some. This is my first time I actually got a goosebumps all over my body, and I said, "This is my mission. I want to save more people." It's addictive. It's like drugs. Once you save one person, you don't want to stop. It's something that I can't explain it. If you never did it, try it once, and you're not going to want to stop.
That's remarkable. So, Eli, tell us, so at this stage, you've got a lot of passion. You feel that feeling, that great feeling of saving someone's life. You've got a lot of chutzpah, but you want to try and help more people, and you have to build an organization. And you need people, you need technology, you need infrastructure. Tell us a little about the model that you employ in order to achieve what seems to be, certainly was the status quo at the time, and you're going to challenge that status quo. What's the technology employed, and how you manage to achieve these great results?
Well, it didn't happen in one day. We started with 15 volunteers, and very fast we realized we have a mission. And people asked me when I was young, I was 16 years old, almost 17. People asked me, Eli, what's the vision of this organization? I said, our vision is 90 seconds. I don't want people to wait more than 90 seconds when someone with an orange vest like this shows up. And I said, that's all we have to fight for. And I went ahead and I started recruiting more people. And it was an incredible feeling when people want to join your mission. I went from city to city and I got more and more people. I felt like a missionary. You know, I was telling people stories and said, join my group. Like, you know, you see all these different missionaries who want to join you into the religion. I started a new religion. Let's save a life. And then Arabs, Christians, Jews from all types, with beards, without beards, with payas, without a yarmulke, with a yarmulke. Everyone wanted to be part of this United Hatzalah. And then I realized that we have a lot of people, but we need technology. When one of my guys, Dovi Mazel, comes over to me like 15 years ago, before iPhone was out there, and he said, they have GPS on phones now. I said, what are you talking about? He showed me on the Nokia, old Nokias, or on the Java systems of certain phones. They had like a GPS, basic GPS, but it worked. He said, let's create something that could, it wasn't even called an app yet. They didn't have the word app. It's a new word. People don't realize the whole iPhone world and Samsung world that came out later. It's new. We had these old phones that had a GPS on it. He said we could find the closest volunteers to every emergency, basically, according to where they are. So we created an algorithm that knew how to find the closest people, the most effective people, the one who have the right equipment. 250 algorithms that know how to calculate all these things within 3 seconds. It sends the closest 5 volunteers an alert. And that's how we started our innovations. And this came after we started the first motorcycle ambulances. We call them the ambucycles. We were the ones who created it. And the idea is to give volunteers who are living in cities that are very congested. They can't use their own private vehicles because originally we all came with our own private vehicles. My father, since you're in England, you'll be proud. My father had an old Vauxhall. Vauxhall was called an English car.
Yes, Vauxhall.
What was it?
Vauxhall. Yeah,
Vauxhall. My father had a long, like, station wagon Vauxhall in Jerusalem. And I used to take my father to work and say it's compensated to save lives. And that was it. My father had to stay stuck at work without a car. And if he needed a car, he took a bus. And I was busy running out to calls with my big Vauxhall. I remember one time I was on the way to a call, emergency call, and I was driving and I went up the hill in Jerusalem and the motor was done, finished, no more water. And I realized that many times I wanted to get there fast, I was like an Uber, life-saving Uber, you know what I mean? So whenever a call came in, I listened to the walkie-talkie, and this is before the technology, and we used to listen, and we used to like grab the emergency call, and we used to rush there, but sometimes we got stuck in traffic, and many times I came with this big car. I had no way to park it. So I had to park far and then run with all medical supplies. That's where we thought about the idea of having motorcycles respond to emergency calls in these cities. So I started getting people to donate these ambicycles. And I said to people, you know what, donate it, put your name of your father, mother, honor someone, anniversary, bar mitzvah, whatever it is, and we will use it to save lives, and we'll notify you when something was done, and you'll know what your ambicycle is doing. So we started with 4 ambicycles, and now we have over 1,000. We have the best technology in the world to calculate the people where they are. We use innovations for everything. It's like incredible to see United Hatzalah. We were the first ones to come up with all these ideas. The nice part about it, we treat over 500,000 people a year, and all these people pay 0 in return. And I know in England, it doesn't sound so surprising because in England, the ambulances are free. But in Israel, you call any ambulance, they have 150 ambulance companies in Israel, including the largest one, Magen David Adom. You must pay for service. If you don't come and pay for service, they chase you and they come to your house, collect the money or your furniture. So you need to pay. Hatzalah, the idea of Hatzalah, we are volunteers on the field. We come for free. We don't want anything in return. We want to donate afterwards, that's fine. But nothing in return. We just come to help. Every day, 1,700 people.
Incredible story. Just to go back a little on the volunteer aspect, because obviously the organization is as strong as its volunteer base. It's astounding that you managed to inspire and galvanize so many people from so many walks of life. Can you just focus a little bit more on what do you attribute that to? Why do you think you were so successful in galvanizing so many people and maintaining that commitment to the cause?
I'll tell you something interesting. I was just sick, and we'll go into it soon. And I was fighting for my life. I was in a very, very bad condition. And a lot of people were praying. You could speak about it because I didn't even know how many. I found out later. One of these people who were praying was a 13-year-old boy. His name is Yosef Mordechai Kadosh. He's a young boy who's fighting for 6 years, battling his life. His life is actually in a big fight against cancer. He's suffering tremendously. He's on chemotherapy. He is literally every day fighting for his life. And when I got up, my daughter said, this kid wants to talk to you. And he's on the phone. And he said, I just want to tell you that I prayed for you every day. I prayed for you every day. And I was crying that Hashem should save you and give you back your life. And I said, thank you so much. And he says, no. You don't understand. I didn't do it because of you. I did it because of me. I said, why? He says, because when I grow up, I want to be a volunteer of Hatzalah. And I realized then the power of tens of thousands of children who want to be volunteers when they grow up. Last year in Purim, I know a lot of people watching you. Purim is a day where everyone wears costumes. In the Jewish world, everywhere you go to America, England, Israel, everyone's wearing costumes. Superman, everyone finds a costume. Our costume is so popular. Over 20,000 costumes was sold last year in Purim. And these kids, they want to grow up and become volunteers. I'm not talking about becoming a professor in a university or Bill Gates, or these kids are dreaming of volunteering to save other people. It just became a movement. I would actually call it a chesed monster. And people want to be part of this. People want to be heroes. People want to feel that feeling that you bring someone back to life and help someone. Not only bring someone back to life, even if a lady is 95 years old on the floor in a freezing cold night, and she needs someone to pick her up, we will have 3 people coming, leaving their comfort of their home, going through rain or snow, whatever it is, and coming to this woman and picking her up and giving her tea and making sure she's okay and saving her from the worst thing, finding herself in the hospital, because an ambulance, all they want to do is transfer you to the hospital because the transport is not free. So they come, they do the work, they go back home, and they did it for nothing. And that's what I know, this movement just became such a desire by so many people to be part of. That's how I think the success of this organization started.
Look, that's remarkable. Just listening to it, even though we are not in close physical proximity, but your inspiration and your passion is contagious. And this is the sort of contagion we want to create. Inspiration, inspiring young people, the next generation through this cause is absolutely fantastic. The organization, it's, in the beginning, it's volunteers, it's a few, you're doing a lot of good work, but then you have not right now a big organization. What strategies and techniques do you employ to maintain a cohesive spirit amongst all the volunteers? You've got a wide range of volunteers. There's a lot of professional team. People can be pulling in different directions. How do you keep everyone focused on the end game and the goal and keeping it together nicely?
I'm trying to understand the question a little better. I'm so sorry because the line is good but not perfect. So just say this question again, but the last part of it.
Okay, in short, the organization is big. There's thousands of volunteers. There's a professional team. The larger an organization, the more challenges there are in terms of keeping focus on the end game. Different people pull in different directions. How do you keep it all together? How do you keep people focused, inspired, and all marching to the same tune?
Okay, so it's a great question. I actually believe in being focused in one direction, and I get bombarded all the time. People come to me with ideas that have nothing to do with Hatzalah. And some things have a little to do with Hatzalah. I'm not going to say samples, but you can imagine people see the success of United Hatzalah and they said, you know what, I have this idea, I have this idea, why don't you do this, why don't you do this? If it's not directly helping the cause of 90 seconds, I will not do it. Some things that I agree to do that helps this cause. I'll give you an example. I spoke about a lady who's 95 years on the floor. It happened last night in the city of Bat Yam. A lot of elderly people there. And I'm next to Bat Yam. I'm staying in South Tel Aviv. That's where I'm actually currently in. And I hear the emergency calls from Bat Yam because it's 10 minutes away. So a lady was 95 years old, was on the floor, and 3 people went to help her. We realized a lot of these people who fall in their home, elderly people, are in situations afterwards. They don't have a way of getting up. They don't have a phone next to them. They don't want to hold, or they kept a button in the bed. They didn't carry it with them. And 3 or 4 days later, the neighbors call and they say something's wrong. This lady didn't show up. She didn't come out of the house. And many times we find them unfortunately dead for many days. We had a situation where we found a man who was 3 weeks on the floor. It was one of the worst things I saw. And it was summertime, so could you imagine? So we decided to start, this is an idea that we had, to start adopting elderly people who are alone. And volunteers, besides what they do every day, they go once a week and they do a full checkup on these people. And they have a personal connection. And especially now with the COVID-19, where all these people can't leave their homes, we started helping them helping them for any issue they need. You need toothpaste. You don't have toothpaste. You need food. You need someone to fix the lighting in the house. We'll take care of it for you, because these people don't have families. A lot of them are, you can imagine, the poorest of the poorest, or people who are Holocaust survivors, they don't have family. Some of them don't have family, or some have a family and they don't care about them. We have a lot of sad situations. So we adopted till now 700 that we check on every day and visit them once a week. And this is not exactly Hatzalah, but it's prevention. Or another project we started is training people who have babies how to do CPR on their baby, God forbid, if something happens, chas v'shalom. So it's all connected, but we're not going to do like projects that are not exactly the focus of our organization. We have a project which is psychotrauma project. I believe that a big problem happens when something bad happens and people saw it happen, or people were involved with it. They suffer for their whole life from the trauma, the emotional trauma, not the physical trauma. And we could help because we have volunteers who are experienced in treating them. We have methods that we know how to snap them out of post-traumatic stress. Because if you treat them right away, they could be a 90% chance of saving them from trouble in their life. So this is something we did because it's connected to what we do. But we had 100 ideas this year that we didn't do.
And look, it's an incredible story. There's a lot of spin-offs. Obviously, you've got to keep focused. In this day and age, and certainly in your story, the technology is incredibly important in the growth and development of Hatzalah. Can you just tell us a little bit about that in terms of what newer technologies you might be using, and who do you engage, who helps you in that area?
So one of the things we're doing about technology is looking for newest ideas that are there to help us. I'll give you an example. A lot of people call us and they get mixed up in the address. They say we live in, let's use an English term, a street in Israel, King, right? And they are now in a different street in King Lloyd, whatever it is. And they are, the dispatcher asks them, where do you live? Or where are you? And they get confused. They live there, but they're in a different area where this thing happened. So we get a lot of emergencies and we send people to the wrong addresses because the people were so confused, or they gave a wrong city. Rabbi Akiva Street is in every city in Jerusalem, in Israel. And every city has Reagan Street. Every city has Robin Street. So we took a technology that the minute someone calls us, we send them a text message. Text to his phone and to his SMS. 90% of the people call from their cell phone today. They don't call from a landline anymore. People don't use landline. Landline, sorry. So we actually send them a text message. They press it, automatically their camera goes on and their GPS location. So they could show us what's going on if it's a car accident. Sometimes they don't know the address. We see exactly to the point of 2 meters where they are.
Wow.
And we have the camera and the audio that we could hear and see what's going on there. So it's incredible. And about a week ago, a kid fell off a mountain next to Jerusalem in one of the, in the forest near Jerusalem. And the kid didn't know where he was. His friends didn't know where they were, and they called for help. And not only they got exact location done, they also got help from the dispatcher, who's a paramedic, telling this kid's friend, what to do and how to stop his bleeding and how to stabilize him, because he saw what's going on. He said, he's bleeding from here. He showed him everything. This is stuff they don't have, and in many countries don't even dream about. If you bring me a technology that can help us save lives and get there in 90 seconds and do our job properly, you have a good chance of getting it to Hatzalah.
Look, the story is an incredible story, a perfect storm in a good way in coming to fruition and being realized by your passion and chutzpah and perseverance. You've achieved a great amount. What is your vision for the future of Hatzalah? Let's say, where do you want to be in 5 years' time? Where do you go from here?
I want to be in every street in Israel. I don't want to have one street in Israel. I'm talking about a street, small streets. Big streets, we need a lot more than one. We want to have Israel covered like a network. In every point I throw a rock, I'll have a seller there. So I want to have volunteers everywhere in the country responding to emergencies within less than 90 seconds. And people said, is that your goal? I said, yeah, 90 seconds is my goal. If we get to 90 seconds, I'm lowering it to 70 seconds. But I really want to be there in a situation. And by the way, some cities, we are better than 90 seconds. We have a city in, I'll give you an example. Next to Petah Tikva, we have a city, Elad. We're covered, the whole city we cover. We have so many volunteers there. We actually don't accept more volunteers there. In a few cities, we don't accept more because we have too much. Sometimes our volunteers are there so quick, before the man hits the head on the floor, we have a volunteer there. So we actually don't allow volunteers to join. And it's becoming a problem because everyone wants to join. So I had one guy, for instance, contacted me 100 times during a period of 2 or 3 months through WhatsApp, through email, through phone calls. He says he was begging me to join in Bnei Brak, which is another city next to Tel Aviv. And he said to me, I want to join. I said, we don't accept any more people there. And I realized how passionate he was about this idea. And I felt bad because when I was a kid, I also wanted to be part of it, saving lives. And he's like a young man. He just got married a few months ago, 3 months before. So I said, I can't help you. We don't accept more people there. He called me up a few weeks later and he says to me, Eli, I want to join you. I said, didn't I tell you we can't join? He said, no, you don't get it. I'm so passionate about joining you. I moved to another city, Ramat Gan, nearby because we're missing volunteers there. This is incredible. A person moved from one city to another city because he wants to be a volunteer. So my dream is to have my vision in the next 5 years, to have people like him every street in Israel.
You know, it reminds me when, obviously, when they built the Mishkan, the tabernacle in the desert. Moses made such an effective that there was more money and more equipment than they actually needed. So, well, it should be a problem that organizations should have more volunteers than you know what to do with them. What are the greatest challenges facing you ahead in trying to achieve it? Is it the volunteers? Is it the technology? Or how do you what are those challenges?
First of all, we have some, let's put it this way. Israel, like every other country, you have incredible people in the life-saving area, but we have unions who are not happy about United Hatzalah operating, like serious workers or unions, which they're doing their job, protecting people's jobs and financial things, but it's actually a big challenge you have to overcome. So we have the chutzpah, like we said, we know how to overcome unions, but it wasn't easy. It was really, really not easy. And thank God we stabilized. Hatzalah is one of the most important, if not the most important, in my opinion, organization in the country. And then they have the financial, since it's free and we don't charge money, and we did it because of reason. I think the motivation of these volunteers is so high because we are volunteers and because we don't charge money. When I used to volunteer in an ambulance in Jerusalem, one of the things I hated the most is writing the bill. Giving a bill to someone for 500 shekel is, for me as a volunteer, and I'm not getting anything out of it, I came for free, and then showing up someone's house and helping them and then giving them a bill was a very, very hard problem. I'm proud of the fact, because a lot of people can't even afford to buy basic things for their children. So some people have money, Usually the people who have money, they have ways of taking care of themselves really well. Everything's fine. But some people, like a big people, especially now, there's so many people lost their jobs and they have to call for help and also pay a lot of money for help. I had a person yesterday ask me for transport from Jerusalem to Tel Shomer next to Tel Aviv. They wanted thousands of shekels for the transport. a lot of money. And we got, we have volunteers who are willing to do it for free. I mean, these people, every day we have these situations. So the financial thing is constantly making sure people are continuing to support United Hatzalah. And since it's a volunteer organization and more people have to know about this and more people have to, so you need it's a constant battle, but you know what? I'm honored that I'm part of this. And when I was traveling everywhere I went in the world, part of it was, if not the main part of it, was to raise money. Sometimes it's to speak and to motivate and to help build the organization. But it's an incredible feeling to know that the money I raised saved so many people.
Moving on, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, for this very reason, you were in the States, you were in Florida, you were in Miami, raising funds for this incredible work that you do carrying out in Israel, saving lives, literally. And then you are infected with this the COVID-19, the virus, this unbelievable pandemic that has really impacted the world, Israel, everywhere. You're seriously unwell. You're taken to the hospital. You're in intensive care. Can you share a little your experience during those very, very challenging times?
Well, it was the worst time of my life. I was traveling to Miami for a fundraising trip. I was there. I love Miami. I don't know who doesn't love Miami. It's a great place and relaxing. Great people in Miami. It's not only Miami. No one should be offended for me not mentioning Boca Raton, Aventura, and all the rest of the beautiful cities all around. Palm Beach. It's beautiful there. And I didn't even imagine I have to be concerned about getting sick in Miami. Who gets sick in Miami? You got a sunburn in Miami. And then I had fever. And I was traveling a lot. I was in APAC a few days before. I was in India or after, I can remember. I stopped in Qatar. I stopped in England. I was in England for a weekend. It was wonderful. I love England. London is one of my favorite places, by the way. And traveling a lot. And then when I'm in Miami, I was more worried about India because, just because Miami sounds like you can't get sick in Miami. And all of a sudden I have fever in Miami. The first thing I did is isolate myself, quarantine myself in an apartment, an Airbnb. I had a night, just locked the door and drank and kept checking my fever, and my fever was going up. Use Fahrenheit or Celsius in England?
Well, both, but Celsius mainly.
So I was over 40, 40, 40.1, 40.2. It's high, very high. Usual Celsius, you need to be 36, 37 max. And I was worried, and I thought maybe I have a strep throat. So I stayed home in this apartment, and I had a few events I was supposed to go to, and I didn't go. It was the day after Purim. And 2 days after Purim, that's when I really felt bad. And I said, I'm University of Miami, and called a good friend of mine, Zevi. He's a doctor there, Newarth. He said to me, go to hospital. I have a representative of United Hatzalah who runs our office in Florida, Danielle, and she's incredible. She was, Ellie, you must go to hospital, like pushing me. And I hate hospitals. Nothing personal against hospitals, but I just don't like being in a hospital as a patient. And I said, okay, I'll go. I went, it was empty. The whole place was like police. Everywhere was protection. Like, the place was isolated. University of Miami, never been there, but I got service right away. They checked me and the doctor did an x-ray. He said, straight to the ICU. I didn't believe it. What do you talk about ICU? I have a strep throat. No, you're going to ICU. And 3 days later in the ICU, the doctor says, you have to go, we have to induce you into a coma and give you and intubate you, put a pipe in your throat to your lungs and give you oxygen because your breathing is not effective. And I had such a bad pneumonia from the COVID-19, of course. I found myself battling for my life. And I left a message to my wife and kids. I thought I'm never going to see them again. And I was worried about them, but I was even more for the organization. What's going to be with the United Hatzalah? And I have incredible people that run the organization. In England, I have Asaf. I have in America, Michael, in Florida, and different places. I send them all messages. Please work hard. Make sure that organization in Israel should not be affected by me. And then I sent a message to everyone, and they put me down to sleep. I didn't know what's going to happen. I was sure a 50-50 chance of surviving. And then 18 days later, they woke me up for the first time thinking everything's okay. But then I got a bacteria hitting my lungs, and it got 10 times worse. Back to point one, you know? And then I really had to say goodbye to my family, because this was like not 50-50 anymore. It was 95-5. And against me. So another many days, I was in coma again, fighting for my life in the worst conditions you can imagine. I couldn't breathe. They had to try every medication possibly to save me. You know, COVID-19 is a very, very serious disease. It can hit a lot of things, but the lungs usually get hit the most. And you need the lungs. If you don't have the lungs, you don't have anything. You know, the lungs have to have oxygen. And oxygen wasn't observing well in my body because I had such a bad pneumonia. And I was unconscious. And I didn't realize how many hundreds of thousands of people, if not more, were davening and praying for me and doing good deeds and chesed, and incredible things were going on while I was in a coma. And then when they had no other medicines to give me, and what happened was they found like a mercy medicine, they call it. I don't know what they call it, mercy?
Yeah.
What do they give?
Well, it hasn't been fully tested and tried. Therefore, if someone desperately needs it, they say, okay, go ahead, use it, even though it hasn't been approved by the government.
Yeah, so for me, they got approval from the FDA, which is very hard. They got a one-time approval to give me. They didn't even start research in the hospital yet. They started a research department for stem cells. Dr. Here, I had incredible people watching over me. I had Dr. Joel Samber and his wife Adele, incredible people who I love very much. They were fighting for me there and making sure that I get the right medicines. I have an incredible people that were looking after me, Mark Gerson, our chairman, and other members of our board. Miriam Adelson from Las Vegas was calling the hospital every day to make sure I'm good. And I had really good people looking after me, but the main thing is to find a medicine. They couldn't get a medicine. And then the hospital said, you know what? They got approval from FDA to give me that thing. And the next day, everything started changing, and they woke me up and they got the intubation out. And it took me quite a few days to get back to myself emotionally, because I was very emotional. I was very, very confused where it was. It was very hard for me, but I didn't even remember I went into the hospital. I thought I was in England, actually, in Switzerland. I didn't know where I was, but not in Miami. And here I am in Israel. I was lucky, very lucky. It was a combination between the prayers and the chesed one did. And sorry, and the medicine. I have to give the medicine, and the care in the hospital was a very big part of it, but it was a combination of everything.
Incredible story. Listening to this, yes, certainly a combination of very, very powerful forces, the doctors, the medicines, most importantly, I think we believe is the power of prayer by so many people from all over the world coming together as one, desperately praying for your good health. And Ali, as I'm interviewing and asking you the questions on the right side of my screen, I just have, there's so many people who are responding saying so good, thank God he's well, doing well, etc. So the good wishes continue to come in, and may you go through strength in doing the work that you are certainly born to do. You know, there's a great quote from Mark Twain. It goes like this: the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. So, Ellie, you've certainly found out why you were born. Even more importantly, you have helped and inspired many other people to find out their why, their purpose, and may you continue doing so. Just following up with that, how has this miraculous recovery reshaped or changed your outlook on life?
I tell you, I really think that I had a reason to be sick. You know, everything is meant to be, right? Nothing in this world is just happening as it is. And you have to take even terrible things like what I had and learn from it. Why did it happen to me? And what can I learn from it for the future? And I think the reason I'm not looking for blaming or reasons, but the thing I take out of it is this is the first time in my whole life that I'm on the other side of the equation. Meaning every single time that I was involved with something to do with accidents, illnesses, disasters, I was always on the side of wearing the vest and being as the medic in the part of trying to save lives. Unfortunately, I saw so many people die in my life. In my own hands, I had babies die, pregnant women die, accidents that happened to people, and I saw it happen, and I tried my best to actually help, and I really put everything, I took it personal. Whenever I came back home and I didn't have a success in what I did, it affected me personally. And I always was very, very bothered. Even when a 95-year-old man died, you know, if someone died as old age, but if he died in an accident and I couldn't help him, if he had a sudden cardiac arrest and I didn't get there in time, and it bothered me. Every human being dying, no matter who he is, Jews, non-Jews, relatives of mine, and foreigners that I don't even know, it bothered me as a human being. And now for the first time, I was on the other side, needed help. And I realized how you need to be much more delicate towards people, doing everything possible to make people that you treat feel so, you know, I felt what I got in the University of Miami was incredible. The amount of support I got from the nurses and from the doctors and from the staff there. Even the person who came to clean the room every day and the bathrooms. I saw him. I couldn't get up from my bed, but I saw that person and I said, thank you so much. I felt the appreciation so high for the first time in my life. I was never hospitalized like this. And I learned so much from it, and that's what I want to take back to the volunteers. To feel like the patients, not to feel like the lifesavers. Feel like you're treating someone, try going into his or her situation. And I think you'll be much more successful making the people feel better and help us save their lives. So I think that's what I'm going to bring back to United Hatzalah volunteers.
Look, that's incredibly inspiring. That it had to happen to you, but obviously, you know, you're on a mission, and anything that comes your way, curveball, you will translate in way of more effectively achieving your mission in life. What message would you give to people who are going through who have been affected by this, either directly or indirectly, this terrible, terrible disease that is impacting the lives of so many people? As a person who's gone through this, what would you say to them? What would your message be?
So I have a message for the people who are not affected yet. And God forbid, no one should be affected anymore. But this is not a game. This is not a joke. Many people think it's not going to happen to us. Be aware that it could happen to everyone. It could happen to a child. It could happen to an adult. It could happen to, I met someone who said to me, oh, I have a blood type. I can't have it. Everyone can have it. I was a very strong man. I didn't smoke. I never really thought it could happen to me. It happened to me. So please be aware. You have all these, this is what we give every Hatzalah volunteer. Every time you go out to an emergency, you have to wear this. It's a whole outfit. You don't have to wear this in the street. It looks a little weird to wear. But you have these special masks that you have to wear. Don't think it's a joke. Don't think that because you're talking to someone else and he looks fine, he doesn't have COVID, and you don't like. Make sure to say in this situation, especially in America now, in England, Israel is a little better now, but don't take it as obvious. It's not going to happen to me. Okay, that's number one. The two, the ones who did happen to them. I was in a situation where 95% chance of not surviving. And I think that the fact that I did is because I have the will of living, and so many people wanted me to live. Don't give up. Even if you're suffering a lot, I suffered a lot, I couldn't breathe. Think in your head that you want to walk out of the hospital. And that's all I was thinking about. I want to survive. I have so much more to do in life. I'm not done yet. I'm 46 years old. I have a lot more to do in this world. And I said to myself, right before they put me to sleep, I'm not going to give up, even if I'm sleeping and I don't know what's going on. And the families who are suffering very much, like my family and other friends of mine, and so many people took it seriously. Don't give up hope. I actually, when I woke up and the doctors told me a month passed, I was sure that people already thought I'm dead and no one cares about me. But then I realized that so many people cared and some people never give hope. I talk to people every day who are families. They call me up and I give them, I said, don't let your spouse, your father, whoever it is, think that you ever gave up. And, do everything possible, pray and do good deeds and everything else to make sure that, I wish everyone to be well. It's a terrible disease. Don't think it can happen to you, really.
Thank you very much for sharing that, obviously, with the people, with the viewers, with the audience out there. From the perspective of running a non-profit organization, this incredible organization that saves so many lives, have you seen a growth in improvement in the generosity and kindness of people towards this organization, your organization, and other organizations?
Well, I tell you what, I think that this is something universal. Hatzalah, United Hatzalah especially, because we are a Kiddush Hashem, like we say, organization. We are Tikkun Olam. We are something that we came and brought a message to the world. It's not only, we're not here to only protect our families. We're here to protect the world. Anyone who needs help. United Hatzalah sent missions to 20 different countries around the world who had disasters and difficulties in situations that they needed people, professional people to come and help. We were there. United Hatzalah is not just to save people in my neighborhood. It's everywhere around. So I really think that we have something, the message that everyone has to be connected to, and everyone is connected to. And I think that's why I have an easier time, but it's still hard. It's not easy. I have to travel. I have to talk to people. I have to convince people. So many times I hear people say, "This is not." I had people say, "Listen, I just gave $20 million to a museum in I don't know, in Manhattan, and I can't help." Everyone has their priorities, but Hatzalah is something that really resonates to everyone, from every type of person, and we actually have volunteers from everywhere. So they had an Arab a social media icon, they call it, by the name of Nas Daily. You probably know of. He's very, very famous. Nas Daily is on Facebook, and he did a movie about United Hatzalah that over 50 million people saw it. And he said to me, it's one of the greatest organizations, if not the best organization that he presents in his videos. And he just made a video about me recovering from Corona. So it actually an Arab he lives in Singapore, Nas, he's a Muslim. And he's doing a video about me. I'm Jewish and Orthodox. And that's the beautiful part about this organization, that you actually connect so many different types of people. I even connected the French people and the English people.
Eddie, I just want to say we're running out of time, and it's been an enjoyable experience and very inspirational, and that and it's certainly contagious and will affect and inspire many people. You ended off on a good note, a beautiful note. This is a tremendous Kiddush Hashem, which in simple English means making God look good and the Jewish people look good. This is the true light unto the nations, where the most important task is saving lives with your passion, with your entrepreneurial spirit, with your chutzpah, and galvanizing so many people who want to make a difference. It's incredible. I'm lost for words to say anything more as to the incredible importance of this organization. So, Eli, on behalf of all our listeners and audience and the entire Jewish people, all of mankind, may you continue to go, from strength to strength, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, in galvanizing all those people to make this world of difference in this very, very, very challenging time, especially. And thank you very much for your time again, and we wish you good luck at Stocker and all the work you do. May you achieve that in that goal of happiness in every single street of Israel and beyond. Eddie,
Thank you very much. And I want to send a big thank you to a lot of my friends who are writing. I have a problem. I didn't bring my glasses. I can't read all the comments there, but I'm going to read everything. But I see a lot of people who I love and people who I hope to meet one day. And I see some friends from England, like Lauren Breslauer and others. Like a lot of people I saw flashing by. So I just want to say thank you for all the beautiful comments that everyone was putting on the side here. I'm going to read everything. I have to get my glasses. I lost a little of my eyesight, by the way. I don't know why, but they say it's normal. I have to get a bigger number in my glasses. So I'm getting old. I'm 46, which is so. I just want to thank you all for writing this beautiful comments and everyone who were listening and part of this thing. And hope you're all well and see you in Israel soon, I hope.
Please God very soon. Eli, thank you very much on behalf of all Khan Israel. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you.